What's up, my devil? Sensei-tutum here with another video for you. So this week is your weekly Ethereum update. Coming a little later. I'm actually recording it Sunday afternoon, early evening, as opposed to typically on Saturday and releasing it to you Sunday morning. Tweet had some stuff to do this weekend, let's put it that way. Yeah, so we're going to also give you a little treat this week. We're going to talk about Bitcoin as well. And we're looking at a Bitcoin chart right now. So we're also going to go back and cover the trade from last week on Ethereum. That was quite the success, if you ask me. If you took it, by the way, go ahead, leave a comment. Let me know how it went. Did you get stopped out? Did you make profit? Did you lose your money? Did I give you a bad offer? You know, did I show you a bad setup? What do you think? I think it was a great one. It was great for me. So yeah, and that's something normally I've in the past reserved for the paid Discord, of course, right? Why wouldn't I? But you know, I wanted to try something a little different last week. And spoiler alert, there's another one right now. Old Toot just hit enter before he started the video. So that's on Ethereum as well, and we'll talk about that. But right now, we're going to look at Bitcoin first. And this is an older chart that you're looking at that I shared in the Discord back in January. And at the time, it wasn't a count that I loved, but it was the count that stood out, right? Like, when a count just stands out to you, I like to call it a slap you in the face count. Those are the counts that you really need to pay attention to, hold on to. If you have to, like, dig in there and, you know, pat your head with one hand, rub your belly with the other to see and squint your eyes, maybe close one, you know, sniff some pepper just to get nice little glossy water in your eye to see an Elliott Wave count, then it's probably a pretty shitty count. But this one, quite obvious. So, but I didn't feel great about it because, as anybody who has paid attention to me since ever would know, that all the way back here, ever since back here, I've been talking about testing these summer lows, these previous summer lows, meaning these, which we did. As I said in the video last week, like this works, but it's, you know, I would have liked to have a little more conviction in that test. But we'll dig into it. So at the time when and you guys haven't seen this for quite some time from me, any Bitcoin in the public eye anyway. At the time I had posted to the members. Let me just read what I said. I don't feel super comfortable about this since it fell a bit short. This guy truncating, even though there was, if you go back and look at it, many confluences for why it would potentially reverse there. Fell a bit short and carried out very swiftly thus far, meaning this move very swiftly, not super typical for the way a bottom would end, right? And when it does in that way, there's some contextual things that we can look at. I don't know if we'll get into that today or not. And I said the move off the low isn't the cleanest. Not that means a ton, but I have to give this one. What did I say? Come on, Toot. But if I have to give one right now, this is it. Wouldn't classify it as the highest probability of expectation. Now, and I felt that way at the time, right? Because it was just a little funk. Like, it was the one that stood out to me, but it wasn't amazing, right? So, but since then, we've done something quite significant. And we talked about this last week as well, breaking out of this downtrend line. That if we go back into the history of Bitcoin, we've never broken out of a downtrend line like that without some significant all-time high type of ramifications to follow fairly immediately, right? So we could go back and show all the lines here that have done it before, and we could draw a bunch more. But, I mean, take my word, this has been very reliable throughout the history of Bitcoin. What am I looking at here? Oh, I'm on Femex. Interesting. So yeah, this is the count, and that would be, just to go through it, it's just in case you weren't reading it, it would be a double three move, sideways style of correction, flat, zigzag, zigzag. Now, people might have problems with this C and relative to this AB. Like, I don't really want to get into all of the depth of analysis that goes into that, but let's just say that it's okay, quite okay. And this has, I've always, from this move this three, even though this three is so big, I've always been thinking flat here, all the way down and through, and it had to have basically proved me wrong before I would have changed my mind. And then it finished up. That's really what gave me some ability back then to buy this low with high confidence. Anyway, and then once we were probably, I don't know, around here or something, it was, maybe it was here. I think it was before the top. I know it was before the top. I should take that back. I know for a fact before the top, it was pretty obvious that this was setting up as a sucker's wave, as a, there was hope. I had a lot of hopium that it wasn't, but it was pretty clear that it was probably setting up as a zigzag that would then require us to test the previous summer lows, which we didn't quite do that well back here. I would have liked to get down and more in the meat. And really, even when I put this count down and shared it with the one that I showed you, I was still thinking that we would reject off this and maybe come back down, and that would have felt much better about calling a bottom. But that just hasn't happened yet, right? So, and I say yet, but I actually don't think that it will. We certainly can. I just, at this point, I think, I don't have a high level of conviction still. It's less than it was maybe a week ago when we saw this break. But no, I feel pretty good. I still feel, I basically, I'm not changing my idea. And the reason is because what is the alternative count to this one that fits, right? And I'm sure that you're thinking right now, well, what about my account that I've got here? And if you want to share it, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or whatever and share it. But I promise you, I promise you that it's very unlikely that you'll have something that I like. And by say like, I find more probable from an Elliott Wave perspective than this. Yeah, there's just... basically, I'm sticking with this until I need to be proven otherwise. So we can go ahead and zoom in a little bit further before we go over to Ethereum. I'll take it down to 2 hour and leave it at that. So essentially, and since I've been doing these videos, it's just, and really to me, Ethereum, Bitcoin, as far as following one chart or the other, I'm only ever going to follow one super closely because they're so similar, right? And I'm not going to trade Bitcoin and Ethereum because I can only look at so many charts in my trading, right? I have a life. I have, this isn't what I do for my primary thing. I'm a father. Have a job. Anyway, I'm going to look at, if I can look at, let's just say I have the bandwidth to focus on 4 assets this week. I'm not going to make 2 of them Ethereum and Bitcoin because they're too similar. I'd rather, do stock, a couple different stocks, indices, cryptos that are quite different behaviorally from Bitcoin potentially, but just not Bitcoin and ETH are too similar. So I'll only generally keep close tabs on one or the other at any given moment. So that being said, this is basically going to be the same sort of idea for both. We saw that we broke out of this sucker with super good conviction off of a shallow retracement of this impulsive move off the low, which basically, to suffice to say, because if the count that I showed out here at this degree is wrong, it's going to require that this is a zigzag up. Now, if you learned Elliott Wave yesterday and did any sort of serious looking into it as far as taking the free EWI course, taking the free Trade Devils, which is far better, white belt course, you would know that the relationship between between a 3 and a C, because you have a 1 or an A, 2 or a B, and it could be a 3 or a C. And if you're wrong, it's going to be a zigzag in reverse against you. So you can only look at the characteristics of the wave to give you an inclination as to if it, after that third wave, if it's going to end up being an impulsive structure, a motive, go for a 5th wave to advance a trend, or if it's going to reverse to advance the trend the other direction because, or continue sideways depending on the situation, but because it was a zigzag. So what you have to go on, and, you're going to be wrong. If you follow the traits and think of these waves, you're going to be wrong from time to time, because sometimes what would typically be a 3 looking is going to be a C and vice versa, right? but it's damn reliable. Let's put it that way. If it wasn't, there'd be almost no reason to use this theory. So again, one of the reasons I'm sticking to the count until it's over, or until there's, until I can't, just because there's still not anything I really like better. But basically, we had the impulsive move off the low, shallow sideways style of 2, and then we have a nice extended wave 3. So it depends. Like, you could call that one ends here and this is all sideways, and then that's 2. We'll just call it from the high to the low, take the major pivots. But if we do that, look where this third wave comes right to. That's 1618, right? You think that's by accident? And of course, if we come down here to where this is really probably, more safe to call the top of the 1, it's even longer. But we'll stick to dominant pivots for now. Maybe there. No, we'll stick there. So yeah, 1618, almost to the tick. A little bit shorter than 1618, which is always, it's like, maybe this isn't as strong as we think it is, even though it broke out with such conviction of the downtrend line. And then we have the move down, and what looked to be the 5th wave in progress playing out. But then before it creates a new high, it reverses swiftly and retraces the whole length of that. So what I will pose is that this will be the same on Ethereum. These are pretty much almost identical, is that this is a truncated 5th wave. We'll get in and look at it closer on Ethereum, but I mean, if this doesn't, again, we talk about relationships between C's and 3s. Oops. I guess I could just do this for once. We talk about relationships between C's and 3s. This is, 1, 2, clearly extended, clearly majorly impulsive. Wave 3 followed by a 5th swing. Obviously 5 swings. So this very much seems motive structure. There's no context to place this as a C. So, I think I'm going to call it a truncated 5th at this point. Which, and then the price action after is what you expect after a truncated 5th this signals what could be a stark reversal in trend, truncated 5th, and that's what we had in this, because it swiftly retraced the entire length of the truncated 5th. Now, from the high, I think that we are putting in what appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impulse off the high, right? So, okay, then why wouldn't you say that this is just, this is a zigzag to here and we're starting a new trend down? We very well could, but as I just explained, this, the context of the relationship of these waves, the context of the breakout of this, the context of the clear, obvious subwave structure of this move, I feel that is where I want to go with it. Now, this is calling that at this juncture is a bit of a risky move, right? So you don't necessarily want to, I wouldn't mortgage your house to go all in on this idea, but if we're talking about Elliott wave counts and you got to pick one, the bear is the easiest to take right now. It's just like, oh, all right, that's easy, which usually easiest is probably best, but I think I think that the easy could get you in trouble here. Let's put it that way. Because of if you're considering context. Now, at this degree, if you want to be short bias, sure, go ahead. I mean, even at this degree, if you're an Elliott Wave trader, I would say that you don't want to be, since you see a clear 5 swing pattern finishing up here. That's the strength of the theory, is to show that a move is finished. So why would I want to short here, right? Like, even if this is a 1, 2, 3, we're putting in the 4, one more little dip down, right? But that's where I'm at. So if we go over here to Ethereum, same. That, we'll just take the dominant swings. We won't worry about the subwave structure too much. 1618, big price expansion. Move down, and then what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that a truncated truncation? Sure looks like it. Didn't quite make a new high. So I don't really need to go back over all of this again because we just did it on Bitcoin. But what I want to talk about is the trade that we took last week. And if you remember, I said at the beginning of this that there was a trade right now this week. So also, by the way, there was also, a short for the members. I should let me look over here. I just want to, since the members are going to be watching this, I just want to talk about that short idea that I talked about. So I'm looking at it. All right, cool. Ugly, ugly, ugly. So ugly. Zoom in just a little bit more. So we're going to talk about last week's trade and this week's trade that Toots in. That isn't for the faint of heart. All right, I like that fork there. Okay, so. Yeah, that short idea is well underway. But the trade that I took was a long, actually. I erased the damn chart. But essentially where I longed the very, very bottom. Basically the low of the low. Not quite, but basically, like, there's a couple dollars beneath it that it went down. So that's the current trade, and we'll get to why. But last week we talked about the long at this downtrend line, which I took and did quite well with. Now, the idea was to create a new high, which we did not do. So that's why I was curious to get your guys' comments if you did take the trade based on that video at all and how you did with it. So basically what happened with me is that I my game is that I pick pivot. I try to get the very pivot, right? Just because you can maximize that way. You got to be pretty good at TA to do that. You know, if you're newer, and depending on the level of confidence in the contextual area that you're in, don't always recommend it, especially if you're newer. So basically, if you're watching this video, I don't think you should try to pick tight pivots. I think you should give yourself, basically position your entries in a way that you have room. Let's put it that way. So yeah, pretty much picked the pivot here. I think I actually bought there on this touch and bought here on this touch. So I probably averaged somewhere around like where my mouse cursor is as far as my entry. 2 ladders. And then I actually added. When we broke out of here and we retested this, I added. Because again, at the time, I can't remember what the above targets were. There was algo targets up here, say around where my cursor was. And at this point, we're just riding it, right? But then when we see that this is looking like 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're working on a 5th, and it's struggling to create a new high, and then this has yet to create a new high over here, that's when the alarm bells start going off in your head. So at this point, my stop was moved all the way up to just under here, just under this POC, and that's where I took my profit. So I was in about here, profit about there, not too shabby. And when I was entering, there was, I didn't have much more room on the bottom of this. So at the time, that trade for me was, something like, well, we'll go to where I actually got out. But I mean, the target was much higher, and this happens all the time. But let's even say it was there. But this thing didn't have that much breather room for me. But almost 7.5 to 1. More realistically, it's probably some over 10 to 1. So of my risk to what my reward ended up being. And this trade this week is sort of similar. So let's go back out to the 1 hour. And this is really ugly. And in fact, this current trade that I just took is counter to what I suggested to the members. And I'll actually bring that up. So I basically suggested this potential long idea. I'll read it. So I basically, the day before, I had mentioned that we were, when this was coming down, I was saying that maybe it was here. I was saying it needed another push. So that's I wanted to add some context for when I read this, and I say, so told the members I wasn't on the charts yesterday, but we got our push reference that we referenced. Now we are at a nice area. Why? Binary outcomes. We bounce in this area, long idea, or if that breaks, likelihood of the lower median is high. Short idea after long stop out. Well, I didn't get long. Actually, no, that's wrong. I did try a long last night, and I got stopped out. So, but it was, very small. And just like this current one is very small, and I should probably let it go. But because this move has been so extended to the downside, it's a nice knife to catch. And again, like I said, I like to pick pivots. But as you see, I showed that, the long idea, the binary outcome was longing based on this guy, this trend line. But of course, how well do you draw the trend line? See, it breaks there, breaks there, breaks here, breaks there. So, what we're doing right now, it needs to get up. It needs to get up and out. Let's put it that way, for sure, and not just consolidate below. So I would dump out. If it continues to do that, I'll probably dump out pretty quickly. But take the long idea here, keep it tight, and then if it breaks, when it does break, look for some sort of retest. This is just an idea. Like, I'm trying to put the members in the driver's seat. They know how to do TA. This is just an idea, right? It could look quite different than this, but basically short on retest to this median potentially, right? That's the bigger kind of target. If we're looking at like a 3 to 5 minute charts trade, that's what I gave them. So right now, what are we doing? We broke through, retested, and you could have shorted into this current level. But as you see, my trade's quite green already. So like I wouldn't, but I could close this here and be, relatively happy with the results, because again, I'm playing at such a tight level. And what is the level, you ask? And it's simple. There's two reasons I'm taking this trade, none of which have anything to do with Elliott Wave or this downtrend line, really, this current long. This algo, clearly there's money here because we bounced when we hit the level, the 50 level before, right? So there should be some sort of reaction at the 618. And if it gets us up and out of the downtrend line, boom, I'm money. We get up and out of here, then you move your stop up immediately under the downtrend line, and then you can just ride that puppy up to, maybe this is your ultimate target, but oftentimes we're not getting those, right? So that's why I entered now. And again, I'm probably like that. Yeah, 2582. I think that was my well, this is Coinbase chart, and I'm trading on Fibonacci. So, that doesn't help. But basically what I'm going to be looking for is that we get up out of this trend line quickly. And by the time you see this video, you'll probably see if we have or have not. And if we haven't and we're rejecting under here, then I'm going to be looking for potential short entries, but not, this needs a retrace. So the two big reasons, again, that I'm in the trade is, we have the nice tight area of entry. We have the, then we have this move being quite extended. So relative to this move, it's well over a 1-to-1. It's over a 1-2-7-2, not quite 1-6-1-8, but it's well over a 1-to-1. And look at all these swings, internal swings here. So this could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. This probably isn't necessarily truncated, but this is 3 down. So yeah, we will call this truncated. But if you wanted to call this the top of this wave, that this didn't truncate, that's fine to me too. But because this is a clear 3 looking swing down, we'll go ahead and call this truncation. So we'll start the count here. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we could get, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that is more, as for an impulsive wave, you would still want to see one more swing out of that, to be honest. So this could even come up here, reject, come down again, and then correct all of that. But basically, this is just quite extended to the downside. It's not exactly the cleanest on the, you know, the swings, because of course if I wanted to call it three, four, five. See, this looks like a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice impulse ending here, right? And that would have been, where's my channel? There she is. That would have been right at the low of the base trend channel for the zigzag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is probably where I loaned last night, to be quite honest. And then I probably got out right here. So that seems like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what we have here is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So really, for this to even be an extended fifth, I would still need one more swing down. Hard to say. But another thing that we look at is we see that as this, let's just draw this down here. This is super important to me. I would think to most people that are good at picking pivots that it would be to them as well. But everybody has their own thing. So we're continually making lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low on the price chart, but RSI is either not making a lower low or making a marginally lower low. So this is, to me, what I would classify as divergence. Could really see one more kick down, maybe stay within the, you know, sideways for a bit, stay within the GP, maybe just under, and then bounce up out of here. I do think that this is going to finish up and bounce back up out of this downtrend line. And at that point, I don't necessarily think that it will be the end and all-time highs, here we come, because this would be an impulse. Oh, so if I wanted to do, if I see, now it does become important where you start the counts from, because this could easily be a 1, 2, and then this all makes up to be a finished impulse. Either way, I'm happy to be long right now with basically, at this point, I'm going to put my stop right at the low, which is basically entry. So for me, it's a free trade. I'm going to move that right now. Let's see. So that would be a $15 loss. if this doesn't work out, I'll lose $15. But if it works out, it's going to be a lot more than that. Let's put it that way. If it goes all the way up here, but even if it just goes right back to here, it's still a couple grand, right? Hey, quick edit here. I never do this, but I'm throwing it in an edit at the end because I forgot to mention it. I do this all the time in these videos where I think to say something, but I get down on a tangent and I don't say it. So what I meant to, you know, it's obviously implied with the analysis that I was showing you, but the problem with this long, one of the problems with, you know, this kind of long target, because especially if this isn't an A, B, C to here, zigzag, and this is a truncation, that this is just the A, right? So even when we do, you know, unless there's somehow that it does bottom here and this was a truncation and this is some sort of funky, very atypical zigzag, I don't bet on those. I don't do that. But, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, it's possible. But I'm not betting on that, right? I would bet on this as the first. This would be an A, right? So that would mean that if you do end up finding an entry for this long and it works out and it gets back up above this trend line, because if it doesn't, then I really don't want to be in it anymore. And it just keeps going more in my favor. Oh, no, it's not. It's about the same. Anyway, what you have to keep your eye on is, just is that this would be an A for an A, and then a B, something like that, and then a C. And this thing getting so long and extended, I wouldn't be super surprised to see the C be less than, let's do a 2 hour, a 1-to-1 ratio. And come down super deep. And by the way, with the type of bottoming event that I thought we were having, kind of expecting to have this funkiness down here, to be honest. And it doesn't off-put me all that much. So, yeah, while I'm long here, it's, you know, potentially a reactive wave. Maybe not, which, you know, you're not really trying to long for Bs like this and counter trend reactive moves. That's, or short for counter trend reactive moves for that matter. But it's just, this is a thing that I do. Let's put it that way. I'm pretty good at picking pivots at times. And especially when you can do it and have basically zero risk. Meh. For, you know, this is still, and everybody trades their own amount of money, right? So I hate even bringing up money, right? But because this is even a, you know, this is a small account, small trade for me even, and in my opinion, I trade low compared to like people that I talk to all the time. I trade way low. But if this is, you know, if my stop is basically at the swing low here, which is almost my entry, and my my loss is $15, then my profit to here is still got to be several thousand. So, but if you know, if yours is $1, $5, if it was $5, this is still several hundred, right? Wouldn't you think? Let's see if we had, or maybe 100. Let's see if you had a $5 entry. Let's just do this. Let's just say you were in there and your stop was there. So 30 to 1. I should be able to do 5 times 30 in my head, but let's go ahead and do this. It's 5 times 3, 150. There, see, I can't do it in my head. So you'd still make $150. If your stop was $5, you'd make $150 to here. So if you do get to the level where you can try to pick pivots, they can be quite fruitful. But of course, it's an easy way to get chopped up if you're not good at it. So I don't recommend it unless you're good at it, because getting chopped up, and I know you're not going to do the $5 loss. You guys are going to, you know, people do this shit and then they chop up their account, and then a month or two they're out of trading. So be careful. Don't necessarily do as I do, but if we do get another swing up similar to this one, and a swing down as this gets smaller and smaller as we go on more and more divergence, you can probably try to take a nice little potential long off of it, because again, this move is getting so damn extended. They don't go forever in one direction. So now, of course, sometimes they do chop up like this and then just fall off the face of the earth, and that's always a risk you're putting yourself in. So that's why we use stop losses. Anyway, I just wanted to show that this idea is, you know, this would be based on all of the count that we talked about. This is the primary expectation. This is just the first leg down, right? But we could always be wrong, and it's not a truncation, and this is zigzag or 1, 2, 3 even, right? So there's all, you know, you can always be wrong, put it that way. But with the primary expectation that I showed in this video, this low would not necessarily be the low to go create new highs. Just wanted to throw that in there at the end of the video. All right, boys, toot out.